Hello everyone and welcome to Civic Platform. Today I'm visiting Canadian Immigrant Fair. In this event, the new immigrant to Canada will find opportunities to get hired with the organization that open for them positions. Maybe that position qualify or get fit for them to be hired for their organization. So let's see what they are offering in this event and what the new immigrants and the newcomer get benefit from this kind of event. So let's jump right in.
Hello Zohair, thank you so much to the Civic Platform for giving us an opportunity covering this event today. My name is Bajaj and I am the brand manager for Canadian Immigrant Magazine, which is part of the Torstar Corporation, which publishes around 80 different publications and has 40 different online platforms across Canada. And coming back to the Canadian Immigrant Magazine, it is one of the largest multimedia platform for newcomers to Canada. So we help new Canadians connect the new Canadians with career, education and settlement opportunities. One of activities which we do is organizing the career fair across different key cities in Canada, coast to coast. We recently had one in Halifax, followed by Toronto, and now we are in Winnipeg. So thanks again to the Civic Platform for giving us an opportunity. Well, Zuhair, it's very important. As I've said, Canadian Immigrant is the largest multimedia platform for newcomers to Canada. We have a magazine, we have a website, we have a weekly e-newsletter through which we connect to the newcomers. But in 2011, we thought it's very important for us to launch an in-person outreach, and that's how the idea of the Canadian Immigrant Fair came up. We started in Toronto and then we moved to 8 different cities across Canada. However, pandemic happened in 2020 and we kind of pivoted into a virtual platform. So it's great to be back as an in-person fair across key cities in Canada. We have started with 5 cities this year, but we will move a full house next year. And coming back to your question on why is it important, it is extremely important for us to connect the dots. So we are kind of a media platform which would connect the international educated professional, IPs, skilled immigrants, newcomers, refugees, even international students with work permits, with the employers, with education providers, and with settlement service providers. So that's what we do at Canadian Immigrant, and we feel that it is really important for us to do that. So the magazine has been running since 2006. It was acquired by Torstar in 2006 and 2007. I've been working with this organization. In 2011, we launched these fairs, the Canadian Immigrant Fair. It has been extremely successful. As you could see, it is completely full house today, and it has just started. So we are expecting almost 300 to 400 attendees over the course of the day. It will run until 3 p.m. today. And we are excited about a lot of vendors. I mean, as you could see, there is RCMP Police Services which are hiring, so they are here. We have Envision Community Living, we have Canada Goose, we have Edge Skills Center which will connect through to the employers. We also have sessions, workshops, important workshops which will be running in a different section throughout the day. We have a very popular platform called the Resume Critiquing Clinic. So yeah, I mean, the expectations are great. We are expecting around 300 people over the course of the day today.
Hello, I'm Constable Brooke Cherney. I work in the recruiting unit out of Winnipeg headquarters here in Manitoba. I have 8 years of service with the RCMP. My first post was in Leaf Rapids, Manitoba. Then I was posted to Nelson House, Manitoba, and now I'm in the recruiting unit located in Winnipeg. So today we are here at the career fair and we are promoting jobs as a police officer with the RCMP. We have a basic requirement: you have to be either a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. With the permanent residency, you have to have resided in Canada for 3 of the last 5 years as a permanent resident. You also have to be at least 18 years old, have your full driver's license, and have a high school diploma and no criminal record. We are also promoting jobs within our emergency call take center. So that is kind of like a 911 dispatcher. So when somebody calls 911, you answer the phone, get all that pertinent information, and then the other part of the job is dispatching the members to attend that call for service. There's a number of different requirements for that. You have to be very good at typing and time management, multitasking, and you do have to be a permanent resident for that job as well. We do have another opportunity as a civilian member to work in administrative assistant jobs, finance, IT positions, and those jobs have different requirements. To find any of our jobs, please go to www.jobs.gc.ca under the government job site. It's very important for people who have all different backgrounds and different life experiences. As a police officer, you do have to have a little bit more time here in Canada, but it is very important that we get people of different backgrounds coming and being part of the police force, because we want our police force to be representative of the communities that we police. And communities in Canada are very multicultural. And the RCMP is a federal police force, so that means we police all across Canada. And we also have international postings. We are in consulates around the world. We do peacekeeping missions as well worldwide, and we train police forces worldwide.
So my name is Doug Lockhart. I'm the Project Development and Training Coordinator for the Independent Living Resource Center. We're a cross-disability nonprofit that supports the participation and inclusion of persons with disabilities in the community. So our focus for today is 2 of our 20 programs and projects. PACE, which is Personal Attendant Community Education, trains people to become personal care attendants, supporting people to live independently in their own home in the community. We're also focusing on our training programs, which range from Red Cross CPR, nonviolent crisis intervention, disability awareness, disability emergency management, and mental health first aid. So just a wide variety of training and resources that allow people to gain employment right away or gain some employment skills that they can use either now or in the future. To work with us, we prefer that you take our training, some of the training that I mentioned, but if you don't have the training, then by all means you can take the training through us. If you have any healthcare aid or independent living certification or past history of supporting persons with disabilities, there's a good chance that you can work with us right away. If you don't have experience working in Canada but have healthcare background, there's a really good likelihood that you can be trained and work with us right away, or work with us without training because you already had the experience and background. We would take you through mock routines or a pre-test just to get a sense for what your skills are, and then we could assign you to people that are a good match for you and your skills, supporting them to be independent in the community.
You have rightly said, it is so important for us to network. I mean, I was a newcomer 17 years back. It is only because of having a good network, of attending these fairs, attending the workshops, going through the bridging programs and educational programs. It has helped me in my journey, my career journey, my settlement journey, and it applies to every newcomers, every other newcomer here as well. It is extremely important for them to come, network. As I've tried to explain earlier, it's not just a job fair. Of course, we have a lot of recruiters, we have immigrant settlement providers, we also have education institutes which would help bridge the programs, offer bridging programs, but more than just jobs, we help them in their entire career process, in their entire journey. And attending these fairs is extremely important. For example, we have 3 very informative workshops over the course of the day, which would be running in a different section. So top-notch speakers from this industry who are immigrant advocates themselves would be conducting those hands-on workshops. We have very informative workshops today. One of the workshop is on the interview skills, like how to appear in the interview. The other one is on the communication skills or English, how to kind of reduce an accent while speaking. And one of the information is on CELPIP and IELTS examination. So those are really important for those who haven't got their PR but they're thinking of getting appearing for those exams. So those are really hands-on workshops which are available today.
Hello everybody, it's good to be here. So when Laura reached out that I could speak again, I was excited about it because I've been here, say about 3 years ago, before COVID. So it's really nice to see everybody come out again to hear this conversation. And let's chat about interview tips and job search strategies. So this morning, just before I dive into the presentation, I'll do a quick introduction about myself. So I moved to Canada in 2016. So I've been here where you're sitting right now. And that's what makes this talk I'm always excited to do things like this because I love talking to immigrants, I love talking to newcomers, and having conversations about thriving in Canada, especially when you're looking to get into the workspace. So it's good to be here again. And so I'm a project manager and an agile coach. I've been doing that way back. So way back over 12 years when I was back home in Nigeria. And then moving into Canada, I started doing exactly the same thing. So I will consider myself privileged and blessed to be able to continue to do the same thing that I was doing back home. It's not exactly the same for everyone. Sometimes people move and they want to pivot into a new career. And sometimes people move and they still want to do the same thing. So the conversation we would have today is around, how you can interview well, how you can search for jobs properly and have a better chance of landing those jobs. So I will move into the next slide here, and it's about introductions. So many of us are here for one particular reason, right? We want to get into the workspace. We've recently relocated, and I would love for us, if you don't mind, to get up and chat with someone. So for about a minute, just introduce yourself to someone sitting next to you. Say where you're from, say what your name is, say what you're looking to get out of the presentation, and then we can continue. So if you don't mind, please rise. Let's get our bodies moving. Feel free to introduce yourself to someone sitting next to you or someone in the room. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you. I could overhear some of the chats, and I love the energy and the conversations we're having. So this is really good. I see that a lot of us have very similar goals. Some recently landed. I heard someone say 2 months, and I heard someone say they're looking to see how they can get better jobs or find a job here in Canada. So that's really good, and thank you for doing that. That's great. And the next slide we have here. So some of the things I'll be sharing with us today, it's not necessarily new information. It's something that we may have heard, since we landed. The newcomer services are things that we're very familiar with. And I'll be speaking a lot from my personal experience. So when I landed, one place that I went to was Manitoba Start, and you've probably heard that before, right? So I was in Manitoba Start, and then I did an entry program. So what that helped me to achieve was, you may have heard a lot about Canadian work experience and what that resume is like being in Canada, and how to prepare a resume that works for the Canadian marketplace or the job space here. So this really helped me, connecting with those newcomer services and seeing how I could tweak my resume, what worked, how does the workplace apply here, and what are the differences between what I had back home and what applies in this space. Another thing is, even before I moved here, right, I had the privilege to start a program. It's called SOPA. And I did that program in Nigeria about 2 months before moving, and they were helping me with working in Canada, finding jobs in Canada. So very similar to what the newcomer services on ground do. So if you could not do that back home, this is one thing I'll recommend. They pair you with a career, sort of like a career coach, right? So they go over your resumes. They look at what kind of jobs may fit when you walk in here. All the advice, take the advice that works for you. That's what I would say, right? So know what you want to get out of those services and take the advices that apply to you. Every advice is not the same for each individual, right? Some people come here, they want to pivot they may have been doing marketing back home, and they want to come in here and do customer service. Someone else like myself may have been in project management, and they want to continue in the same line, or something very similar. It could be business analysis or something in those lines, right? So as you continue to hear a lot of advices, try to apply it to your own situation, but be willing to learn, because some of the things that we've learned back may not necessarily be the same in this space or in this scenario. So be willing to learn new things, be willing to relearn some of the things that you were familiar with before. And another thing I notice is, when people start to apply for jobs, which I see very common, with newcomers, is using the same resume over and over again, right? That doesn't really help. So I, for instance, have been working for over 12 years, right? I have a resume that has all of the information that where I worked, voluntary services, voluntary work that I did. It has a lot of information, and it's so many pages long, about 6 pages to 7 pages long. Every job that you want to apply to does not need all of that information. So whatever job you're applying to, you have to tailor that resume to that particular job. And what does tailoring the resume mean? When you get a job description, right, so there are things that they list there, that qualifications, they list the kind of individual experiences they are looking for. Everything you have done would not necessarily fit, right? It's good because we're very diverse as individuals, right? It's good to have all of that and to have it in a master resume, because the master resume should have everything that you've done. But your tailored resume should have what applies to the particular job that you're applying to. So if you had a resume of 6 pages and you're applying for a new job, look at the job description in that particular job you want to apply to. Look at the words, the key words that stand out. So they may say someone that is very versatile in Microsoft Dynamics, or someone that knows Salesforce. If you have a whole range of skills on your resume, but it does not apply to this particular job, it's better to leave it out. Because your resume, people glance through resumes in 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and they make that determination on whether they want to continue reading that resume or whether they want to dump it. So you want the keywords in that job description to stand out to whoever reads your resume, and then they want to read more, right? So it's one thing to get your resume in front of the recruiters, and it's another thing for you to get a call, right? So when you get to that point of getting a call, for you to get a call, I want to say this, it means that there's something in your resume that they see that they want to have more discussions around. So having that confidence to go into interviews is very, very important. I noticed that some people, because you're new to the country, right, you're so excited to get that call for an interview. And then showing up for the interview, and how you show up is also very important. You need to show up confident. And you need to have conversations to say, this is what I know, and this is what I can bring, and make it a conversation with whoever you're talking to, right? People are used to different things, right? Some people have interviews that it's very rigid. So you stand in front of the recruiter or whoever is having conversations with you, and it's a yes, no, very short, straightforward answers. But in the Canadian culture, it's very conversational. And when you have conversations, it helps to build rapport. So if you're having a conversation with someone, it's not very rigid, and then you can build that like a likability factor. So the person can start to like you, they want to know more about you. And putting into context what you know is very key, right? I, for instance, worked for an organization in Nigeria called MTN. Everybody in Canada does not know that. Many people don't know that. But if I bring my context and say MTN, they may not know how huge that organization is. It is a huge organization, right? It's possibly even bigger than Rogers in Canada. But when you're explaining that to someone, you need to paint the picture for the person, right? So you need to say, in terms of numbers, they have over 1 million or 1 billion subscribers. I worked in this particular context across 36 states, and I was deploying servers or you need to be specific, right? Some people, when you're interviewing, if they don't get it, they just smile. And that for you is losing the chance right there, right? They may not probe further. So it's your place as the person that is being interviewed, and you know what you want to get. It's your place to explain what that context is and paint the picture for the individual that you're interviewing with. So that's another key advice that I would share with you all, to say, when you're having those conversations, make it very conversational. And for a posting to come out, right, there has to be a reason. It could be someone left that position, or the person got promoted, or the person left the organization. It could be another reason that it's a new position that has been created to fulfill a need. So you want to probe, right? And by asking, it shows that you're interested in the organization. You're curious to know what's going on, right? So you're not just sitting there, but you're not asking questions. Make it a two-way street when you're having those type of interviews, right? So they're asking you questions, and then when it's your opportunity to ask questions as well, make sure you ask questions. Because when you ask questions, it shows that you're curious about the organization and you're genuinely interested. But when you don't ask questions, it's difficult to show that interest, that I'm interested in the organization, I'm a candidate that you should look at, exploring more of this discussion with. So it's important that you make it a conversation when you have your interviews. So the type of questions I would say not ask at the first interview would be the first one that comes to mind, which is the money question, right? So you want to be sure they want to proceed in that conversation with you before you ask, okay, how much are you going to pay me? If you ask how much are you going to pay me in the first discussion, it looks like you're there only because of the money. Of course I'm there for the money. I want to get paid and compensated for my services. But then you want to find out what their own pain point is, right? So we're here to have a conversation around what? Why is this position open? And let them talk, right? Because when people talk and you're making it a conversation, it makes them want to explore more with you, right? So they tend to feel like, oh, you're interested, you want to know more about us, we want to know more about you. They start to like you and they want to have that second conversation. So the type of questions, I would answer your question by saying the type of questions you want to ask first, and then the questions you don't want to ask. So the questions you want to ask first is, why is the position open? Why are you looking to fill this position? And let them talk about the organization and say, this is where this need is coming from. And then that's your place to put in a plug to say, oh, I've done something very similar in the past. This is what I've done, and this is how I can help to, bring value to this current position you're looking to fill. And then you can start saying, oh, what's the team like? If the hiring manager is there, like the manager you'll possibly be reporting to is in that conversation, you want to ask, what's your team like? What's the team culture like? How do you promote within this role, right? So do you have professional development programs? For me, when I step into this role, what is who will you call to, how will you describe someone that is successful within this role, right? So you want to ask very intelligent questions. And it's also very important to do your homework, right? So that's this slide. Before you even come into the interview, do your own due diligence about the company. It's very surprising how much information you can find online just by digging. But sometimes we don't do that due diligence, and that's how we get shot in the foot. But if we do the due diligence, you'll be surprised at what you find, right? So it could be through Glassdoor, it could be on LinkedIn. If you look at the kind of leadership they have, like look at their company on LinkedIn, look at the people that work for them, start to go through who is the manager, who is the team. So you're almost doing like CIA work. So dive in and do like digging, do that due diligence, so that when you show up, you're showing up speaking intelligently, right? And you're asking more questions based on what you've read. So it's very key. I'll tell you my personal story. When I landed, I didn't work for, say, about 10 months. And it's not the same for everyone, right? Everyone is in a very different scenario. So I came in with a baby, about 5 months old when I came in. So I took my time. Like, I was at home taking care of my baby. I signed up for French classes. Everybody's scenario is different. Some people want to land here and they want to find work immediately. And that's for many reasons. Your proof of funds may be depleting. You may need to pay your rent. So different people are in different scenarios, and you may even have come alone without coming in with a partner. If you come in with a partner, someone may be working, the other person may be trying to find their footing. It's different for everyone. But when I started to search for work, I got 2 jobs within the space of 1 week. And those 2 jobs were project management related jobs, right? But what did I do? What I know that I did, one, I will attribute it to preparation, and then if you're a faith person, you probably pray. I'm a faith person, so I pray, right? I will attribute it to that as well. And then the other thing is I asked a lot of questions because I was genuinely interested in, why are you looking to fill this role, right? And what can I bring to the table? So I made it very clear that this is what I've done and this is how I can bring value to the role. So you have to be confident in what you're bringing. And if you don't know, be very transparent as well to say, I don't know, but I can find out. And this is how I can find out. Right? So it's one thing to say, I don't know, and just leave it there. But it's another thing to say, I don't know, but this is what I'm going to do to be able to fill that knowledge gap, right? So being very honest with ourselves as well goes a very long way to say, this is the value that I'm bringing. As immigrants, it's very important for you to know that because you worked in a different context does not mean that there is no value in that context. So it's very important for you to be able to communicate that value that you have in that context, and this is how it applies to the current Canadian context, right? So let's go back to, and then your question on what not to ask. So money is number 1, and then if you start to show like you're entitled, those kind of things tend to put people off, right? So be there to show that this is what I'm bringing. And let them broach that conversation as to, all right, this is what we can offer you. And you can start to have other conversations around negotiations from there. But negotiating and all of that is not what you want to bring in at the beginning of the conversation. Thank you. All right, so due diligence. How does your LinkedIn profile look right now? Right, so you've moved to Canada. You may not have updated that you're in a new place, right? Put your open to work banner. Do you all know what that open to work banner is on LinkedIn? So there is that banner that you probably see it on other people's profile, but when they're looking for work, like it just has an open to work. And in that way, recruiters can easily find you, right? Especially when they're looking for something that is related to your skill. So put that in, and making sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date, right? So go through your LinkedIn profile, look at where you work, look at the kind of descriptions that you have under your profile. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So once you connect with me on LinkedIn, you tend to see all my connections, right? So if there's someone that is doing the type of job that you want to do, connect with them on LinkedIn. And the CIA work again, like dive in and look at all the connections that they have and what kind of skills that all of those connections have too. And like I said earlier, make sure that you're doing your due diligence before you step into the interview. It is so critical because within the first 5 minutes, whoever you're having a conversation with will know automatically whether you read up about them or not. Because if you did your due diligence, it would influence the type of questions that you'll be asking, right? So some people start to find jobs, right? But then they don't even know how many resumes they've dropped. It's better to drop 20 good resumes than to drop 100 resumes that are just a waste of time, right? So take your time to work on the really solid ones and look at the places in Winnipeg Now that there was COVID, it's starting to go away, thankfully, but people are now open to remote work. So don't limit yourself again to just Winnipeg. Like if you find companies that are outside of Winnipeg that are looking for the kind of skills that you have, feel free to apply there. But track the applications that you're sending out. So don't just fire applications everywhere. And then when you get a call, you're asking them, did I apply again? Like, remind me what job this is about. It makes you very unprepared, right? So track the applications the places that you apply to. When I was applying, I had an Excel sheet that had the company and then the resume. I'll just name the resume so that I can easily identify that that's the resume that I used for the organization, right? So when you're applying, keep a record of those places that you've dropped applications to, and look in the Canadian workspace, especially in your local city. Here we're in Winnipeg. Do your research as to the kind of organizations that exist here in Winnipeg. There is no limit to where you can find work, and that's just the honest truth. The thing is, we tend to limit ourselves, right? You need to be very open-minded that you can work anywhere. If you desire to work there, it is very possible, right? So go on LinkedIn and see who are the people that are working there and what kind of skills do they have, and be honest with yourself as to this is where my gaps lie, right? So this is what I have right now and this is what I don't have. Another thing is some people wait till they have all the qualifications before they apply. Don't do that to yourself, because you're basically screening yourself out of the process even before you're screened out, right? So even if you have 60%, 65% of the qualifications and you have the experience, you have the qualifications, apply. Don't wait to have 100%. In some places that, some of us come from, they are very big on degree, right? It's not necessarily the same with Canada. If you have the experience and you can show that you can do the job, you can communicate that, you get the job, right? It's not all about I have that master's or that PhD. Those things are very good, but that's not all what gets you the job, right? It's about showing that, oh, I can do it, and you can communicate that you can do it. That will go a long way. All right, and here are references. I'll tell you a very funny story. So one time my company was looking for someone in project management, right? And then we got a lot of resumes. We started going through the resumes, and we found a resume that was a good match, right? So after that, interviews happened, and we got to the places of references. So when they start checking your references, it means that, oh, you're very close to getting the job. So we called the first reference, and they were totally confused on who we're calling about. So you can imagine that you call someone, they put, okay, give us your reference, and they give you like 3 references, and you start to call, and they just respond in a very funny way, like, who are you calling me about? Okay, call me back later. Can you imagine what kind of impression that leaves on the person that is calling, especially when it's like your recruiter that is calling that reference? So if you're dropping someone as your reference, make sure that you let them know that you're dropping them as a reference. You let them know what organization will be calling them, and you can even remind them on what you've done, that these are the things that I've done in the past, and when you get asked this type of questions about me, these are the type of responses that you can provide. So make sure that your references are honest, and then you also check out those references. Like, you let them know even before those references are checked that you've had those conversations with your references. Because imagine going all the way in that recruiting process, and then it's just that reference bit that kicks the person out. All right, additional points. Make sure that you dress for the job that you want. It's as simple as that. Don't show up dressed tardily, because there is that saying that says you're addressed the way that you dress, right? So show up dress the part. That's it's as simple as that. It's better to show up dressed properly than to show up dressed in a very tardy way. That alone can easily put people off. And before COVID, we were in physical interviews. Now a lot of interviews are done remotely. So that handshake may not typically apply, but sitting in a room that is not well lit. So imagine sitting in a room and it's dark, the person cannot really see you. If you have to get like a light, the ring lights that people get that, if that would help you, right? So that you have light where you're sitting, especially when you're having virtual interviews. And make sure, I know another thing I noticed is some people, like if you have a window behind you, right? It's just very easy. You have a window behind you, light is pouring from behind you, but your laptop is right in front of you, and you're having an interview, do you know that your face will be dark, right? Because the light is coming all the way from the back. So even before you get on that call, try to check what your video appearance looks like. Very simple tips, but they go a long way, because if the person cannot see you, the vibe is not coming across, but you're having all of those conversations, but the room is dark, it's not well lit. Just having that well lit room can also help you. And then be enthusiastic. I said earlier that when you get that call for the interview, it means that there is something about you that they want to talk about more. So show up eager, show up enthusiastic to have that conversation. When I show up for an interview and I show up like this. Good morning. Thank you for calling me for the interview. What do you think? And then I show up like this. Oh, good morning. Thank you so much for having me for the interview. I'm so excited to be here. Those are two different things. Like the first one is like, I don't care. I'm not even sitting upright. But even the posture alone can come across to the person on the other side. They're not in front of you physically. You're having a video call, but it still goes a long way, the way that you show up and the way that you project your voice. So check things like your lights, check things like your audio as well. Feel free to rehearse in front of the mirror, right? Because it's for your own success. So have somebody that you're practicing with. Like these are the type of, look for typical questions that you will get, especially for your type of role. And feel free to rehearse that even before the interview. Engaged, right? So during the interview, so they say something, take your notes, right? So that you can go back to, oh, you mentioned something during the interview. This is what I understand from it. Are you able to share more context about that? So again, you're making it a conversation, and it's always very interesting how far that can go for you as somebody who is interviewing, right? So make it a conversation for yourself. So it's an enjoyable conversation, and they tend to remember you more. So you remain more memorable when they are going through the list of, oh, these are our top candidates. The people who have conversations, who show that genuine interest, are the ones that you easily remember. And another thing is sending a thank you note. So after the interview, feel free to send a note. This is what we chatted about. It could be 2 hours after the interview, or could be early the next day, right? So this is what we chatted about. Thank you so much again for having me for the interview and for spending that time having discussions with me. This is what we chatted about. You mentioned this during the interview. Oh, I recall that I've done something like this, and when I'm selected, this is the kind of value I can bring to your organization. So send that note just to help them to remember that, oh, this is the person we spoke to, and to make you, again, more memorable. Okay, and I touched on this as I was speaking. So that honest evaluation of where you're standing, it's so critical. If you know that you need to, it's not everybody who needs to go back to school to get a degree, but you may be getting certifications, or you may be doing other things to develop yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 2 years diploma or a 4 years degree, right? But having that honest evaluation with yourself to say, this is where I'm at, and this is where I see my skill gaps, right? So people in Canada that have my type of job, or the job that I want, and the type of experience I'm looking to get, this is what they have. And look at where you are lacking, or where you may need to fill gaps, right? And be honest with yourself and go seek those certifications, because it helps you in the long run. All right, in summary, dress the part, make sure that you have that honest conversation with yourself, show up for your interview very enthusiastic, right? There are questions that would apply to the type of jobs that you're looking for. Research those questions and make sure that you always come prepared for your interviews, because it helps to go a long way.
We have 2 different areas where a resume critiquing clinic is being conducted. So a person can carry either their physical resume or their soft resume and talk to the resume specialist. They can help them work on their resume the way it is done in Canada, and which would eventually help them, enter into their first step of their career building here in this beautiful country.
My name is Gloria Friesen, and I'm a career counselor with Edge Skills Center. I'm here at the Immigrant Fair to help people review their resumes, make improvements, and give them general advice on how to find a job in Winnipeg. So I'm really passionate about helping newcomers to settle in Winnipeg and find jobs, because I believe they bring a lot of knowledge and skills from their previous countries, and those are gifts and skills that they can use here. And we want people to feel like they can be at home in Winnipeg, and part of that is having a job where they feel like they can grow and be successful in Canada. And so I just hope to connect people so that they can start becoming more independent in Winnipeg. In Canada, it's really important to have a resume and a cover letter that has proper English to help the employer to see your education background, to see your skills. And in Canada, paperwork is very important. It's good to have personal connections and relationships, but there's a very formal process to finding a job, often online applications. So we need a digital copy of a resume in order to formally apply for jobs. Often we have resumes coming from other countries that they might have a picture or too much personal information. We don't include these in Canada. We want equal opportunity, so we don't share the personal information or those photos. Sometimes resumes are too long, and so they might be 5 pages long. In Canada, a resume is about 1 to 2 pages, and so we'll help with some grammar, especially if somebody is learning English. We'll help them with their writing skills. But we just want an employer to have an easy time reading the resume, and we really want to show off your education and your skills. And so we remove some of the personal information and highlight your abilities and your knowledge. So if you're applying for an industry, let's say you want to be a support worker, you can use this resume multiple times, but customize a cover letter. So that's a letter to a company. And that can be, every cover letter has to be remade for a new company, but a resume can be reused. But if you're switching from a support work job to a cashier job, those will be 2 different types of resumes. And so you highlight different skills, but it's all, in one industry you can reuse a resume. So it's really important to make sure you use the language that the employer is looking for. So if you look at a job posting and they say they want somebody who has strong communication skills, then you need to write about your communication skills either in your cover letter or your resume. So there's always small changes you can make, but you can reuse a resume, but you cannot reuse a cover letter. It always has to be different.
So yes, I mean, pandemic has really taken a big toll on mental health. That's rightly said. However, as I've said, things are now moving in right directions. All the employers are opening up. There is a lot of hiring which is happening from IT to health to service industry. Even hospitality. It's back, travel is back, so it is a buoyant economy this time around. The reports are in. This is one of the best time now. We have come out of the COVID, or we are coming out of the COVID rather. So it is a good time for the newcomers to upgrade their skills if they haven't. However, every newcomer comes with a certain skill sets. They do have that expertise. Canada is such a diverse country, such a multicultural country. They need that expertise. However, my advice would be to work on their soft skills. Those are the transferable skills. Soft skills, a small example would be, how do you dress when you go to the interview? What should be your body language when you go to the interview? What are the latent jobs? Where is it hidden? Some of them might not come, the employers might not come here and attend these fairs. However, there is an industry which you can explore through internet. There you can do your research, but attending these fairs help you connect with those employers or those agencies which help them connect with the employers from their background, from their sector. So it is so important for newcomers to stay connected, whether it is through Canadian Immigrant Magazine or any other platform, whether it is through informative website, resources that we provide, whether it is through in-person fairs or whether it is through any workshops, conferences. I would highly suggest that please do connect, stay connected, work on your soft skills, work on your transferable skills, and you are here for a great journey in this beautiful country.
Hi, so my name's Courtney and I'm an employer liaison at Opportunities for Employment. I think it's important because we have a lot to help new immigrants to Canada with in terms of finding a job. We offer lots of different resources in terms of helping you with your resume, making sure it looks up to what expectations are here in Canada. We can also help with job interview skills, and actually we're located right next door, our offices, and our registration is totally free, and we offer services like free training, access to employers and jobs, as well as interview preparation, and we even also offer a class called Canadian Workplace Culture. So that class kind of helps people understand what it's like to work in Canada, what are the expectations of work here, and really gets you ready to start your work and your job here in Canada. In terms of looking for a job, so yeah, I mean, how to go about finding a job, what are the different ways you can look for a job, maybe different qualifications and trainings that you might need access in order to get a job. Typical interview questions, what does a resume look like and what are the expectations of what we want to see on a resume in Canada. So all those things might be different here than your home country or your native country where you're coming from. So we have access to all that information and can help you with that.
Any newcomer, any new Canadian, whether you have a permanent residency or whether you don't have, if you are a refugee, if you are an international student with work permit, any new Canadian is welcome to attend our fairs across different cities. So as I've said, we had a very successful one in Halifax, in Toronto. Today we are in Winnipeg, and the next one to follow is in Calgary on August 26th. And finally we'll be having one in Vancouver on November 3rd. So there would be 5 different fairs. Everyone and anyone is welcome who is a new Canadian, who's a newcomer, can register and come over. And if you're still not able to register online, you're still most welcome to come here. We will be able to help you. Our team will be able to help you register manually and attend the fair today. Yeah, so again, it is so important for us to come and attend these fairs. There would be workshops which would help you in taking those communication skills. There are bodies, there are immigrant serving agencies which offer free services and English as a second language or English speaking link services, for example, would help you to help newcomers to build up on your English. I mean, not everyone would have English as their first language. So yeah, even if you are not very competent with English, you can still attend these fairs. There would be agencies which would help you and guide you through your language training. So most welcome to go to those agencies. We can guide them through those agencies which are exhibiting here today. Thank you, Zohair. Thank you so much for giving me time today, and thank you so much for covering this event. I really appreciate the civic engagement covering this event, and I wish you all the best, and thank you so much again.